And we're live.
Hello.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, how are you doing, Andrea?
I'm good. How are you doing, Dante?
I'm doing
Hi.
good.
Yep. Erica?
I am doing well. Thank you all for asking. I'm happy to be here, ready
Cool.
to share some information.
Talk about what's going on in Houston this week and what's going on just in Houston in general and the real estate market and everything else that anybody has questions about, right?
Most
Right.
definitely.
All right. Well, cool. So anything exciting happened this week that you guys want to talk about or kind of bring up, whether it's real estate wise, with the city, just anything you can think about?
Yeah, I think something interesting, something cool has been happening is all the out of town buyers. So it's like kind of become a thing of having like all the migration from California. So I feel like I've had like a buyer from California for the last like couple of weeks, like various ones from probably three of them that have come. And so they're all like, well, we're gonna send more when we move, more is coming. So it's funny, like the great migration that everybody's talking about to actually be like experiencing it and living it.
So this is the first time you've really started working with like a lot of out of state buyers from California?
Yeah. I've worked with people from New York, people come from Florida, but I didn't really have a lot coming from California until probably the last like couple months.
Okay. Yeah, I know last year, I experienced it last year, like early mid 2021. It was like every single buyer that I had at one point that was from out of state, they were all California. And
Wow.
it was either the Bay Area
Mm,
or Los Angeles. Like
yep.
either or. So many coming from San Francisco, um, San Jose, Oakland, and then
hmm
Los Angeles as a whole. Um,
So Matt asked, is the I-45 expansion still going on?
I feel like I-45 is always expanding.
yeah. I-45 expansion, it's still happening. Right now it's up north of Conroe, like a little bit past the Huntsville area.
hmm
Out in I was in Huntsville about 3 weeks ago because I had a client who purchased out there and they were still working on that area. It seems like it's trickled up, for sure. So I-45 is still expanding. They're going to keep expanding it all the way through to the Dallas area.
Yeah, I had a past client that I was helping move things out of the lake house that they were selling, well, out of the home that they were selling in Cyprus and move stuff into the lake house out in Huntsville. And there was still expansion going on.
Hmm. Was it Lake Livingston that they were moving to?
Their lake house was like Livingston, but they're gonna eventually sell that as well.
Okay. Have you seen? I mean, you're starting to work a little bit more in that area too, Dante and Erica. If you've worked in the area too, definitely chime in. Are you seeing that a lot of people are taking interest now in Lake Livingston versus like Lake Conroe?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
What do you
Absolutely.
What do you think? Inventory wise, I mean, of course, there's inventory out there. Lake Conroe was moving very quickly. Um, bang for their buck. Do you think that Lake Livingston is going to give them a little bit more bang for their buck?
I do.
definitely.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Don.
Okay, so yeah, definitely. I have currently a Lake Conroe buyer that I presented the idea of Lake Livingston, just because what they were wanting for Lake Conroe and Lake Livingston put them under budget, but still put them in a good spot from where they wanted to be as far as the property goes, because they were wanting that more updated look. They were wanting the pool, but they were also wanting to be on, the waterfront. So they would have been in a better position than like Livingston, but of course, everybody still kind of knows Lake Conroe a little bit more, and they're out of town, so that's a little bit different for them.
Hmm. Um, I feel that definitely Lake Livingston it has more to offer when it comes to the real estate side. Recreation wise, not as much. Lake Conroe is a little bit more fast paced in my you know from what I have seen. There's definitely more lakeside dining, recreation. There's just so much to do out there in Lake Conroe, and you're such close proximity to the woodlands. But
Yep.
Lake Livingston it has a whole different vibe. It has that. I want to get away. I want to go to the lake house. Let's camp out, and just enjoy ourselves in the woods for a couple of days, just get away from the big city, versus Conroe is just the complete opposite. And a lot of people are looking for that. They think that they want a house on the water, lake house. And when you take them to the Lake Conroe area, it's not really what they picture. But if you take them to Lake Livingston and they see that, a lot of times that's right on target with what they envision for a lake house.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So in case anybody's wondering, you heard it here. Our team services not only the inner loop inside the city, but also out on the outskirts of Houston. That kind of brings me to kind of something that you and I were talking about earlier, Erica, the pros and cons of being in the inner loop versus outside of the city. So what I think that is one of the main reasons that people want to be in the city is just the close proximity to downtown, short commutes if people work downtown. But I think the outer bands of the city also have some great pros and cons too. I mean, what do you think about that?
I do. I think, and now in this whole like remote working world, when people are working from home, I think a lot of times people want to be closer to the city for, a lot of the industries and working and things like that. But now that a lot of people are remote, you're getting, obviously the further out you go from the city, you're going to get more bang for your buck. And like you said, even when we think about like the Conroes and the Woodlands, like Cypress, even if you go to like League City and Dickinson, like they have a life of their own. They have so many cool things to offer, eateries and breweries and things like that. So I think that now more than ever, being able to explore, especially as we'll talk more about financing later in terms of what's happening with interest rates and things like that. But I think allowing them to have more opportunity to go out is starting to really become intriguing to a lot of people. And, even when we talk about tax rates, property taxes, there are some property tax rates in some areas that are really, really expensive, and inner loop tends to be a lot of bit less depending on where you are. And so there is a trade-off there. But the further you get out of the city, I always believe the more bang for your buck. And so if it fits for your family, I think now more than ever is the time to explore that.
Yep. And a lot of people just don't realize that these suburbs outside of Houston, they're all growing so much, and they all have, they all have their town centers per se. Dante, you live outside of Sugarland, right?
Yeah, so I'm in Sugarland, Stafford area, and so we have our own little community out here. And I am pretty much a born and raised Houstonian, but I've pretty much lived in the Fort Bend area for a good majority of my life. And to see the growth that we've had out here, at one point you wouldn't find bars in Sugarland. You didn't just, like, that wasn't a thing. We had to go to restaurants and that kind of thing. But now the Sugarland Town Center has actually gone up even through the pandemic and added a lot more things for convenience. So you don't actually have to go into the city to get some of those luxuries that you find in the city. We have those in these suburbs.
Oh yeah, and you even have a lot of people don't know, but Sugarland, you even have a minor league baseball stadium or baseball.
Correct. Stadium. We have the Skeeters out here.
Didn't the Skeeters change their name recently?
I believe so, but it's like Reliant. It's always going to be what it originally was.
They're the Skeeters. In fact, now I've got to Google that and see what Skeeters have changed their name to.
Now I'm curious.
As the Skeeters.
I actually really love like kind of like those smaller locals, like feeder teams. I always think it was like teams they feed into like the major league teams. Like they're so fun and so family friendly to like go. You sometimes get a little smaller.
There's a lot more engagement.
Yeah.
So I pulled the name up. They are now renamed the Space Cowboys.
I did remember that. So fun fact, that actually brings me into like something else that I was thinking about that Erica brought up earlier. So like a lot of eateries and drinking opportunities happen inside of the loop and outside of the loop. And there is the Heights Hotel that has what they call like their own little bar area, and they call that Space Cowboy.
Yeah, so I know Space Cowboy there, but I just naming a minor league baseball team the Space Cowboys I
So
don't know. We're Houston, so
It fits.
we think Houston, though we don't necessarily think the Cowboys. I mean, that's just me. Like,
Well, I got you, but you have to remember the general gist of like what people think when they think of Texas is going to be like that cowboy country, horses and things like that. We have that in Houston. You definitely can find that in like Acres Home, Interloop areas, right?
mhm.
But then we also have like we're Space City. So you kind of get both the best of both worlds out here because you can go to Manville, Angleton, Alvin, and get all like that rodeo feel,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go to further down on what is it, FM like 1 or something, and go to NASA.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of rodeo, did any of you guys get rodeo tickets?
I did not. I was really thinking about Gwen Stefani. Like that is going to be an amazing night. But I did go with the last one that they had with Cardi B.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. So I'm kind of, I don't know.
I'm still struggling and tussling with the idea of people and crowds that I cannot control. Because
Yeah.
if we know what the rodeo and the carnival look like
Yeah.
and what our grocery stores are starting to look like, I ain't sold. I'm not sold because I don't want to have a mask on and continuously pull it down to eat
Oh, yeah.
or be in that hot stadium. Because I mean, let's be real, the stadium does get hot during the rodeo just because of everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still not on all the way sold yet.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I may go like during the day or something, like just random, like I probably won't do a concert, but I am thinking like if there's like a weekday that I can just kind of go and enjoy, I'm thinking that I'll do that.
Okay. So I did. I was determined I was going to get tickets. I had when they had the waiting rooms open to get in to purchase tickets. I'm not going to lie. Instead of making some of my phone calls, I had 9 browsers open on my laptop,
I don't blame you.
and I was in the queue. I did get tickets for the H Town Takeover.
I knew you were going to get that.
That was number 1 on my list. But for that one, I wanted the suite because I'm with you guys. I don't want to be next to people. This concert, we already know it's going to get crazy. I mean, come on, it's Houston. This is going to be like probably one of the better concerts at the rodeo just because it's so Houston based. But people are going to be sweaty, breathing on each other. Like I wanted to be away from that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to stay safe. Let me get in a suite. It was pretty affordable, might as well. So I got that. I did get tickets for Marshmallow, which I got tickets that were kind of front and center. So we still have a little bit of space between us, not like the regular stadium seats. And then the one kicker, I got George Strait tickets. I didn't think I was going to get them. I got George Strait tickets, but we're in regular seating, so I'm pretty nervous about that. I'm still thinking if I want to go to that one or not, or maybe just give them to a friend and say, you know what, just take them.
So you can do the pre-surgery mask if you want to, which is going to be, I think they're about to start giving out free N95 masks, 3 per person at like your local pharmacies and stuff. HEB will be doing it, of course.
Yep.
But you can do what they do is they put the N95 on, and then they put the regular, like the dental hygienist mask on top of that. And extra protection, you can just do a face shield. Because at this point, I'm just saying, at this point, it's George Strait. You got to do what you got to do.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean that's so Texan, right? We went from Bun B to Marshmallow to George Strait. All within a period of a couple of weeks. So
Love it.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, of course I am nervous, but
got to get out there, and George Strait feels worth it to me. That's not everyone's not worth the risk, but I do think that George Strait feels worth the risk for sure.
The man's in retirement and he comes to the rodeo every year. It's worth it.
Oh yeah. Speaking of retirement, did you guys hear about? We were talking about HEB too. The CEO of HEB. Did you guys see that Scott is retiring?
I did not.
And if you guys joining in, if you're not familiar here on the podcast, we probably talk about HEB quite a bit. If you're not from Texas, you may not know exactly what HEB is, but HEB is a chain grocery store, but it is the mega grocery store. It carries local goods, local goods from your community. They give back to the community quite a bit. HEB is, a lot of us, we have a love for HEB that can't be measured. The CEO of HEB just recently announced this week that he's retiring. So I'm pretty interested to see kind of the direction of the company, see which way it goes once he has retired, and see if there's any changes that might come about, or if they're going to be the same HEB that we know and love.
As long as they don't get rid of the brown sugar turkey bacon that I love.
As long as my Central Market stays at the level it is, I will forever be grateful. Because for us bougie ones, we all know there's HEB, but there's Central Market.
That is true. That is true. I mean, just as long as the tortillas,
they can't mess up them tortillas. They gotta keep them.
The homemade tortillas that are actually, they taste like homemade. The closest you'll get is HEB, and they make them right there in the store.
Yeah,
nice and
warm. You can
warm.
actually ask for a free sample for those that don't know.
Yep, and the homemade guacamole. Like those are the two things that whenever I go to HEB, I pick up those.
Those 2-bite brownies. There's no reason that they should be that good. Like the 2.
I call them 1 bites.
Yeah, no, because they're really mini. They're like really mini brownies, but they are the richest and softest, like pre-made brownies. I don't understand how they do it, but also incredible. And fun fact, I got married during COVID, so I didn't really have a big ceremony and I couldn't really do a whole lot. So it was really just us. And I was like, well, we have to have a wedding cake. So like last minute, I decided to order a wedding cake and I ordered it from HEB. Hands down, one of the best wedding cakes I've ever tasted. Yep. And to this day, like I always will trust HEB with all things food.
Yep. Yeah. HEB.
Right.
So you can't tell if you're tuning in case you cannot tell. Like I said it earlier, HEB holds a special place in our hearts if you're from Texas. For most of us. For most of us. The rest of them, I don't know.
The dark side, like Dallas, doesn't necessarily get HEB like that.
That's true. But people who don't like HEB are like people who don't like Beyonce. They're just kind of bitter.
Can we talk about the fact that the way that tugged at my heart because you were like, they don't like Beyonce? And I was like, yes, you were absolutely right.
You don't.
How do we feel about this weather, though? Because I'm in a polo, you're in shorts, and you're in a short sleeve, and then Andrea has on a sweater. Like,
yeah, we can't tell if it's winter or spring, like, or maybe an early fall. Like we, for those of you who are not local, like we were in like having a cold front this weekend. It was in like the 40s and 50s. I think the chill was still in like the 30s. And then like just last Thursday, it was in like the 70s because I went on a walk at Herman Park. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice. Such a nice day. And then we turned around and just like that, it was cold. It actually gave me PTSD from the snowstorm because that's how the wind chill. It felt to me a lot like this time last year.
I'm so traumatized.
It's crazy. So today I'm looking at my phone, if you can see it. But you can see that big old ring light behind me. So today's high was 59 and the low was 41. But last week we were in the 70s, even I think low 80s for the highs. And the weather just changes so quickly. As long
as we don't get another winter storm, I will be okay.
It's similar. It is similar to what happened during that winter storm last year. That winter storm kind of, I don't know if it necessarily crept up on us. We did have warning, but I saw so many people online complaining, oh, Texans, they don't know how to deal with it. Oh, poor Texas, they're whining and crying because they've got busted pipes or whatever. We're not used to this. Like to have snow have snow that sticks for a half a day, that's not normal.
I can explain this really well because we all know my personal experience. So, one, Texas is on the grid all by itself. So when we freeze over and things can't get maintenance, that's problem number one. Yeah. So now you don't have the heat going, which means the pipes in the home are going to start to get real cold real fast. So those are going to freeze. And if you're lucky, your pipes won't burst. If you're not, they're gonna burst. And even if they don't burst, you have to remember that once the water starts flowing back through, all of those cracks that might have been created, that's when they can burst, right?
Yeah.
As for me, I wasn't so lucky. My apartment, we had electricity the entire time, and I was just like, I was in Vegas because I was taking a mental health trip with my best friend who lives out there. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So I didn't know about the winter storm. I didn't check the news or anything. I didn't have any type of groceries, nothing. So if I had stayed, I would have been in the worst case scenario.
Wow.
So my apartment complex kept up with the electricity. We had electricity the entire time. So I'm over here in Vegas. I'm like, I feel bad for everybody because we didn't have water, but we had electricity. That's we're good. We can stay warm. I get an email on Thursday, February 19, 2021 that says Building 6 is currently on fire. My entire apartment burned down.
Oh my goodness.
My entire apartment burned down. So the problem was, and I tell everybody this because I was, as traumatic as it is for me, I'm still blessed to say that I don't have the mental anguish that most people have because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I like to make a joke that my bouginess killed my apartment because in San Antonio, we have a thing called Cibolo Canyons, which is on the other side of 281, and it's an incline neighborhood. So the fire department had to go up an incline to get to my neighborhood either way they went. And then my apartment complex is on a hill within this neighborhood. And then my apartment is on an incline in the neighborhood of the apartment complex. So they had to go up 3 inclines on ice with no water. So at one point, they actually just let it burn. And we lost everything.
Oh, that's
I had not heard that, Dante. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I thought that I had a bit, like I truly did. I was like, because today's my daughter's first birthday, and so she was 3 weeks old, or she was like 2 weeks old, about to turn 3 weeks old. So I had just had a baby, and like I had to pump, like I wasn't eating or drinking, which is so important to be able to produce milk. And I had this newborn baby that had no shots, like had just like nothing, like, and we were in the midst of the cold, and we got a hotel the first night. And then after that, of course, they turned the water off. So hotels couldn't wash sheets or clean. So we were just stuck with like no water and we had some food. We did prepare a little bit, but we could, of course, cook the food. Like we had to just do non-perishable items. And so it was so traumatic to have a newborn baby in a pandemic. There was like no vaccine at that time. And like it was just like, oh my gosh, here I am with this.
And she can't wear a mask because she's a newborn.
No. And like, here I am with this itty bitty baby. And like, my husband's like trying to figure it out. And we were just like out here trying to, luckily, like we made it to one of our friends' homes in Pearland, and they did have power, although they didn't have water. So we were at least warm. But Dante, that story has nothing on you. Like
it does though, because don't minimize. You had a newborn baby, right? Everybody in our apartment complex survived. Somebody lost their 2 cats. That was like the main thing. I want to say it's Community Bible Church out in San Antonio. They took care of us. I'm not a member of that church. They just believe in a community. Who is this little
That's
lady?
my daughter.
Hi, Jasmine.
So Community Bible Church took care of us. They gave us $5,000. They did raising with the community, and they matched it. So we got $5,000 from that. The Red Cross came out and was helping us. It was a large community effort. So I will always like be grateful for that. But you had a whole newborn baby child. Like, that's a whole struggle. Like, no,
that's tough. Like
that is tough.
Newborn,
okay,
dealing with the newborn, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with a record-breaking freeze. Like, you had a lot going on. I mean,
it was something, but we learned, we got better from it. And like Dante said, if you're thinking about moving to Texas, still move to Texas, because we took great care of each other. I think it was a great opportunity, kind of similar to Hurricane Harvey, to where we as a community came together. We showed up for one another. I know my home, we have like a little group message, and people were like, hey, are y'all okay? Do you need to, hey, I'm gonna back my car out. Do you need to hop in? I have some gas. Let's like warm up, and then we can go back in, So we really did show up for one another. And I think that, people talk about Houston Strong. And I think we have so many examples of Houston Strong and like why we band together, and it spills over into how we support our sports teams and, all the things that we do here, the culture in Houston. And I think you two can talk more about that as well. But we have a great community culture in Houston and in our various sectors. And so I think that is worth mentioning, although we face this hardship. There was some good at it, and it was very heartwarming to see how everyone showed up for each other.
Oh yeah. And
did y'all see go ahead.
I was gonna say something I noticed a lot too. Of course, that freeze scared a lot of people away. For me, I had a lot of buyer clients. They're like, no, we saw how houses, were impacted during this freeze. We don't want to buy in Texas no more. Houston is not the place for us. People only saw the half of it. Like they saw, most of the nation saw the bad. They didn't see the good. They didn't see how Houstonians banded together. They didn't see, the whole Houston Strong movement. They didn't see any of that. The other thing is, a lot of these homes are not built for the cold weather. And if you look at older homes, of course, you're going to have the galvanized piping. You're going to have, some of them are going to have copper piping. I mean, you're going to have like older style of piping versus newer homes. These are the homes that really weren't impacted as much. They have PEX piping. There you go. Matt Bittner just said it.
Yeah.
PEX piping. If you buy a home that has the PEX piping, that piping is built to expand. So when water gets in there and it freezes, it's not going to crack. It's not going to break. Those chances are very small because the piping expands as the water settles in there and freezes and expands with the pipe. So the homes that had that PEX piping, most of them did just fine. This also brought up a concern that many people had that had the older, outdated piping. They realized, all right, it's time for me to update this house so we don't have this problem again. Or they were forced to update the homes and repipe the whole homes. So to touch back on that again, I mean, just to kind of start back from the beginning, people are worried about buying older homes because they're not going to stand up to the elements. But a lot of these homes that are in the Houston area that were impacted, they've been repiped. Some of them have been gutted. Same thing with Harvey, like homes have been gutted. They're essentially newer homes in an older shell. You've got electrical systems that have been redone, piping that's been redone, your plumbing, your HVAC systems, of course, those have been replaced. People worry about buying an older home. I think that it's important to look up, not necessarily look at the age, but look at the condition in its current state.
Yeah.
Do you guys find that a lot of people just don't want to purchase homes maybe because they're older for those reasons?
Go ahead, Dante.
Okay. I was like, I find that, hold on, Andrea, can you answer this? Matt asked, do most new construction homes have PEX piping?
Yep, because homes are not being built with the galvanized piping anymore. Most new construction builder grade is going to be the PEX piping. Yep.
And I find that most people who are against or more so weary to older homes typically don't have an understanding of like what it takes to maintain a home and like what actually gets replaced. They a lot of the times, believe it or not, I've had people tell me, well, they haven't replaced the roof. And I'm like, no, this home was built in 1954. I'm good and sure that at one point you're going to find a roof replacement and we can find that for you.
Yep. I see that a lot too with like people that are concerned about foundation work. What is your take on a home that has had foundation work before? Just kind of coming from industry professionals. I mean, everybody has their own opinion. What do you guys think about homes that have had foundation work?
I love them.
Okay.
I love them because they come with, and most people don't realize this, but they come, like a lot of the foundation repair companies will give you what they call a lifetime warranty. So you'll have that warranty and it transfers to the new buyer. So some homes are going to just have, foundation issues from just settling. But the fact that that's already been something that you don't have to take care of down the road makes it a lot better on your part.
Yep. What about you?
If you think about it, and not that people are homes or people, but just to give an illustration of it, is like what if a person decides to get a facelift or a lift of anything, And it's like, would you not want to marry or date that person? Like, does that change, the bones and who and what that person is and who they've presented? And I think a lot of times with home buyers, there's a lot of anxiety around the unknown of what the future may hold. And to Dante's point, with the um, lifetime warranty, that allows some of that ease. But I think when buyers are not aware of what that means to get the foundation repaired, to them it sounds like this could happen again, and what's this going to cost me? But with a lifetime warranty and the issue being fixed, and if you think about a home that was built in, say, like the 1950s or 60s, and they just got foundation work in the 2000s, well, that's a heck of a time frame. Are you going to stay in that home for 50 years?
Yep.
So sometimes we have to give our buyers perspective, and we also have to educate them. But I think that there is certainly less, and there should be less anxiety around a home that has had foundation repair. However, I do understand why buyers feel the way that they feel when they see that on a seller's disclosure.
Yep. And it's fear of, kind of touching on that, it's fear of the unknown. Like consumers, we have a lot of first-time home buyers who we work with. We have home buyers who are just not necessarily educated yet in maintenance of a home. This is their first time. They're not going to know what to do. They're not going to know how to maintain this home. That's why we're here to help guide them through that and show them really how to help maintain and take care of their home. Fear of the unknown. We're in Houston. This area settles there's so much clay and moisture in the soil. Homes are going to continue to always shift. I mean, we're near the Gulf, so homes are going to continue to move, settle, shift a little bit. I see it that at some point, pretty much every home is going to need to have some type of foundation work done. It's part of maintenance, essentially. That's very costly. Foundation work, I've seen some quotes for foundation that are just a few $1,000s. I've seen some that are $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. It could be a lot of work to maintain a foundation.
And on the low side, I've seen 15, and that's the low side.
I mean, I've seen crazy amounts for foundation work because I've seen homes that have shifted so much. And I look at it like this. And when I talk to my clients, I see it looks scary. You see that foundation work has been done, and that raises some red flags, but it's maintenance. Would you rather somebody else already take care of that maintenance for you and transfer a warranty over that is potentially a lifetime warranty? Or would you rather go into a home knowing that we know about the Houston area and the shift and take that risk of having to do that work later on down the road if you see this as your forever home?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of those things you really just have to think about. But I mean, foundation is one of the most common conversations that I have with my clients.
Yeah. I am going to exit off. As I told you all, today's my daughter's first birthday. And so I'm going to go and spend the last 30 minutes with her before she goes to bed at 8. I follow me on Instagram at Erica Paige Keenan. If you all have more questions, I know that you all going to handle it and do it beautifully, but I appreciate the time. And thanks y'all.
All right. Thanks for
See you later.
See you later. Go enjoy some HEB cake.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of HEB cake, I just want to circle back to our conversation about the freeze. Did you see the video of the HEB that lost power during people's shopping experience?
I may have, but I don't remember.
Okay. So during the freeze, people were at HEB getting everything that they needed because HEB was still stocking. All the power cut off, and HEB literally told all of them, just go home with your baskets, just go home.
See, that's why we love HEB. That is why we love HEB. So HEB does that right there. And then every time we have tropical storms, hurricanes, even if they don't impact the Houston area, if there are tropical storms, hurricanes, things like that, you already know HEB is going to be the one source to go to if you need water, if you need charcoal, if you need fuel. to barbecue if we don't have electricity. HEB is always like our go-to. Yeah, HEB is definitely our go-to. So Matt had another question. He said, have we seen any REO homes for sale lately? So if you're not familiar with REO is real estate owned homes, kind of essentially like foreclosures, bank owned, things like that. I personally have not seen any of those lately. So what about you, Dante? Have you seen any of those?
So I've seen some, but like I told the investor client that I had initially on one, you're not going to see any new inventory until we actually see the forefront of what it's going to look like when they finally do lift like residential assistance and those different programs that were pandemic relief, right?
Mhm.
Because you have to remember there was still the moratorium on evictions, which also covered foreclosures.
Okay.
So once that settles down, we'll be able to see exactly what REOs we're going to have and what that inventory is going to look like in the near future. Most of what we have on the market currently is all going to be what's been sitting or homes that were damaged and are now bank owned or insurance company owned. It really just depends.
Yep, I agree. That brings on the question that we seem to get, or I get every single day. Do you see the market crashing?
Remember how I told you I worked for Uber?
Mhm.
I'm an Uber driver. So those that don't know, I'm a full-time real estate agent and I'm an Uber driver. So I actually get people in my car from all over the place, and I have people all the time tell me, "Oh, it's going to be just like 2008." And I asked them, I was like, "Okay, here's how we're going to do this. Humor me. What was the cause of 2008?" They were like, "Oh yeah, it was subprime loans and predatory lending and all this other stuff." I was like, "Okay, what are we seeing right now?" "Oh, we don't have a lot of homes." Now, how does that correlate?
Yep.
Where's the correlation between subprime lending and our inventory just being low?
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
This
I
market
mean, rates are raising.
Yeah, this market is nothing like 2008. So some people, and for those of you who don't know, the reason for the real estate crash in 2008 was due to predatory lending, subprime lending. There were a lot of issues with loans. I mean, that's where it came from. People were pretty much, it was like Oprah says, you get a house, you get a house, you get a house. Everybody got a house.
Matter of fact, one better, right? Let's put it this way in terms that people can understand. You were making $55,000, which is the market average where you live. On Tuesday, you cannot qualify for a $430,000 house. However, somehow on Friday, you now qualify for that $430,000 house. From Tuesday to Friday. That doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of what we were seeing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, what did Matt say? Loose lending.
Loose lending. Yep. That's what it was. I mean, people were sold the dream. They were getting into these homes, first-time home buyers especially. They were getting into many brand new homes that they had very low monthly payments. Didn't necessarily read the fine print. It wasn't disclosed to them properly.
They had a graduated payment.
Yeah, they had graduated payments, which means your first, 12 payments, 12 months would easily be, let's just say, back then this was a lot of money, but let's just say $900 a month, right?
Right.
$900 a month for your first 12 months. That sounds great. You come in, you're thinking, all right, you know what? I'm purchasing a home. I'm only paying $900 a month. You didn't realize that on that 13th month, your payment just doubled and then some in some cases. So what happens? How am I going to pay $1,800, $2,000 a month for this house?
And I don't have the credit to refinance.
Yeah, we don't have the credit. It's not there. I can't pay $2,000 a month for this house. I was just paying $900 a month. So then the market again started crashing, foreclosures left and right because it was happening to so many people. Now it's different. Interest rates are still at a low that we haven't seen before. We were at historically low interest rates, within the past, year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We did not see interest rates that were 2.7, 2.6. I mean, rates were crazy. If you
2.3 at one point.
Yeah, they were so low. And with that came affordability. If you had lower interest rates, you were able to afford more home. Whereas now rates are starting to go back up again. So the market in my opinion, the market's not going to crash. It's not going to be anything like 2008 because it's not subprime lending, predatory lending, loose lending, like Matt said. It's all there. It's disclosed. It's just a matter of now interest going up. That's going to impact people's eligibility to purchase a home or purchase the home that they're looking for.
So Matt asks, isn't it true lenders expect you to have at least 2 years of work history to qualify? Yes and no, right? So there are some lenders out there that are going to require you to have 2 years, right? I have a lender right now that while you don't have to have 2 years, I mean, as long as you have been in the same job field, doing a similar job role, you'll be fine, right? What's your take on that, Andrea?
So, many people don't know that, and I've had a client who was able to get a home like this. If you are in school and you're going to school to learn a specific trade, learning a certain field, that actually could be considered as work time to add to that 2 years. So let's just say, for example, you're on your job now and it's only been a year, but if you were going to school prior to that, maybe to get your degree for that particular field, that does qualify you to be eligible for that home loan.
So like we're talking doctors, attorneys, those professional degrees where you have to do residencies or internships and things like that, right?
So my client that I'm referring to specifically, it's been a little over a year now that he's been in his home, but he was in the construction field.
Got it.
So construction, not necessarily like foreman, day labor, nothing like that, but it was construction based, and he was going to school to start learning towards his degree in that particular field. So that time that he was in school qualified him from as work history or work experience.
Got it.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily have to have at least 2 years of work history to qualify. You can get in less than that. Mm-hmm.
What do you think the rates are going to do to the market? Do you think buyers are going to stop buying, or kind of where are you at?
It's going to slow down for sure. And I've seen it. This month, I actually did see it. I mean, it is a little bit of a slow season right now. Everybody's trying to recoup after the holidays, but I have definitely seen it. Interest rates are going to continue to go up. With that being said, it's going to affect buying power, because the higher your interest, the less home you may be able to afford. Whereas last year you could have afforded a $400,000 house on a 3% interest rate. Now, if we're looking at 3.5, that $400,000 just went down to $350,000. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely going to weigh on what you can purchase. That is going to be a little bit disheartening, because you expected to be able to purchase more home.
Exactly.
With the interest, increasing, it's not necessarily there anymore.
Gotcha.
So if you are thinking about purchasing, now is the time. Talk to an agent. If you need to get in contact with the lender, you can reach out to our team, the Move Me to Texas team. You can reach out to me directly. That's my handle on social media, at Andrea Sanchez TX Realtor. Dante at, I'm gonna let you read it.
So this is the first time any of y'all will have heard this handle be pronounced correctly. It is at Diamandi. Mm-hmm. So you can reach out to me there. I actually can put my popple in the chat where you can schedule a meeting with me on Calendly. I have various different ways that you can connect with me. So I'll put that in the chat, but you could connect with either one of us, of course.
And we can get you connected. We can talk a little bit more about, everybody's situation is different, kind of advise you. We do, of course, free consultations. Reach out to us, reach out to our team, and we can get you connected with lenders, local lenders that we work with very closely in the area, and they can help guide you and determine what is going to be the next step for you.
I want to say if they were last week, they would have saw Paige. She's one of our great ones.
Mm-hmm. Paige is awesome. I work with Paige quite a bit. Paige is definitely she's definitely my go-to lender. Mm-hmm. I feel like with a lot of my files, I don't want to send her the crazy hard files only. So I like to connect her with anybody who I think is a good match for her. But Paige is really creative. She can help make things happen. I've had clients who didn't think it was possible because maybe they were a 1099 employee, or maybe their credit wasn't right where they thought it needed to be. But Paige was able to help guide them and, get them where they needed to be credit wise if they weren't ready yet. Just kind of show them what they could potentially do to help raise the credit. 1099 employees, she's helped a lot of my 1099 clients get approved. There's many ways that Paige could help, and I love Paige. I think she's the best. Paige, if you're listening, I think you're the best.
Definitely, Paige. I love Paige as well. She's helped me with several buyers now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've just recently joined the team, so we connected real quick.
Yep. Yeah. She does great things. And then we've also got other lenders that we work with that we refer to our clients. We've got 4 preferred lenders that we will send out to our clients to help with pre-approval. But sometimes there's, maybe one lender that might stick out based on the person that we're speaking with. I think they're a good match, or, I've got some clients who are maybe working with the VA loan. And I think, there's another lender that we work with that I think is a great match for them too. So it all depends. I just like to feel out the person that I'm working with and see who I think that they would be a good match for.
Yeah.
And of course, send them everybody's contact info, but just let them know, I think this person might be really good for you.
Right.
So that is that. Anything else that you want to talk about, Dante?
With it slowing down, I think we're still going to find people are still going to buy. I think what's going to happen is people are going to sit down for a second. They're going to see that this is the normal. That, okay, this is okay. And then they're going to pick back up, because I want to say that article that I shared not too long ago, Katy right now is the 3rd most popular suburb to move in the United States right now. So Houston is definitely going to still be busy and active, but I think we will see a small slowdown before it picks back up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm seeing it right now. I mean, I'm not necessarily as busy as I have been the past 6 months, but again, too, I think it's just because we're after Christmas. I saw this last year as well.
Right, Matt. There's a lot of people still moving to Houston.
They are. I've had, let's see, what's today? Tuesday. I've already had 3 consultations this week for people that live out of state and are looking to purchase in the Houston area. 2 of them are looking to move to the Houston area, and one of them is looking to purchase investment property as an investment and help really take advantage of. Again, the market's still hot. I mean, interest rates technically are still pretty low, and right now is a good time because it is a little slow. You're getting ahead of the spring and summertime rush, because once school is ready to be out, then that is it. It is a crazy madhouse.
And I think that's around the time people are going to realize, okay, this is the normal.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, Matt, there are definitely still a lot of people moving to Houston, for sure. I think what also is happening is that people are seeing that, like Dallas, for example, Dallas was a very hot market, but it's a seller's market as a whole right now.
Right.
The price points in Dallas, you're not necessarily getting as much in Dallas. It's still a lot harder. Multiple offer situations, over asking price offers, things like that.
Appraisal waivers.
A lot of people are seeing that it does make sense to move to Houston if you're looking to avoid some of these things. And we still have quite a bit to offer compared to Dallas.
Okay. Yeah, and I know Austin just gained Delta as a new corporation that's going to be out there. So that'll be interesting to see how that impacts Austin and how that impacts Dallas and kind of things like that. Because, not everybody has to work at headquarters.
Yep. But what I've seen, like when Tesla first announced, is many people are selling their homes in Austin because they know that they can get top dollar because all these major companies are starting to plant their roots in Austin. They're selling their homes. They don't necessarily want to leave Texas, and they're moving out to Houston. They're moving out to the, you know, like the rural parts of Houston, out towards Montgomery, Magnolia, Hockley, Brenham.
Not look, not so much Hockley or Rocheron right now anymore, because Hockley's getting more residential. Rocheron's now becoming one of the hot spots on the south east side of Houston. New Caney on the north is starting to pick up and develop more.
Porter's a big one too.
Crosby.
Oh yeah.
Crosby is another one. So it'll be truly interesting to see kind of what this market does this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited to see what happens. I mean, I'm all about the growth because at the end of the day, the growth is going to help the economy. And that's what we want. We want a strong economy, and what better place to have it than in our backyard.
Exactly.
All right. Well, if anybody does not have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and exit the chat. I've got a few things I've got to take care of. Got to make a few phone calls, late night phone calls. And it was great talking to everybody. Remember, Andrea Sanchez, TX Realtor. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, everything. Dante, I'm going to let you take it. I
think this is the end, is it not? We're at the end. I'm at Diamandi on pretty much all platforms. Follow us there, connect with us, and we will definitely be able to assist you guys. All right.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.